CinemaJaw is brought to you by Cards Against Humanity. Guess what?
What, Matt?
They asked us not to read an ad.
Are you kidding me?
I'm serious.
That is so cool.
Dead serious.
Wow.
Enjoy the show. You're listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location at Cards Against Humanity in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is
Rye the Movie Guy. And sitting alongside us, as always, is our engineer and local filmmaker, Elias Rodriguez.
How's it going, Jawheads? It's actually, I'm just in the jaw box now.
I know.
Gotta-
More on
more
that
on
in a
that to
minute. Yeah. This is exciting, isn't it, Matt?
It is exciting.
Yeah. This week on Cinemajaw, Matt, we take the stage with a microphone and a bottle of water and a stool. Isn't that what the stand-up comedians always have with them?
Or a glass of whiskey.
Yeah. That's what
Depends
they
on
like.
your stand-up and where they're at in their career.
We are covering this week, Matt, and this is an awesome topic, our top 5 favorite stand-up comedians turned actors.
Yes. I'm really excited. I can't believe we never treated this before.
I agree. Way back in the day, we're going way back, one of our first years of Cinemajaw, we did, I believe, our favorite movies with a lead comedian in it.
Yes,
Something
movies
along those
starring
lines.
stand-ups.
Right, but
Yeah.
this is different. We're talking about stand-up comedians
It's
who have
different, and
made
it's
the
been
jump.
8 years.
Yeah, who have made the jump to acting, and we believe these are the 5 best.
Yeah, this is a good list. Could
It
go
was.
any direction.
When I started doing my research, I was excited by just how many great actors were actually stand-up comedians to start their career.
Yeah, I think we'll get into this, but I think it teaches you a bit of a sensibility being on that stage that translates well to acting chops.
It does. We're doing this, Matt, because we have a great guest who is going to be joining us.
Yes.
Finally joining us.
Yes, finally. This is a person I've wanted on the show for a long time. Len Austrevich, writer, director, co-founder of Jokes for Miles, all-around interesting dude, is in studio with us.
Yeah, he's been involved in the comedy world for years. He is a veteran, a crafty veteran of the comedy world.
Yeah, he is. Well said.
Yeah, can't wait to talk to Len. Besides that, Matt, we have a whole lot more going on, don't we, Elias?
Oh, yes, we're going eye for an eye on Atomic Blonde.
And we have a review of Dunkirk.
Yes, and because we were going eye for an eye on Atomic Blonde, I thought this would be a good time, Matt, for you to take Len on in blonde movie trivia.
Okay.
Think of famous movie blondes.
Okay, that's a good one. I like that. And speaking of Charlize Theron, it kind of got me to thinking she's sort of a badass beauty, isn't she? She's one of the best.
Is. Well, she's getting up there, I would say.
You mean you don't think she's the greatest?
No. I mean, clearly, when you're thinking that term that you just used, I like how you said it, badass beauty.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is one above all the rest, and that is Angelina Jolie.
Get out of here! You're saying she's better than Charlize Theron?
As a badass beauty, yes, absolutely.
You're so wrong,
Think
dude.
of her movies.
I am thinking of her movies.
Yes,
I'm
she's-
thinking of Charlize Theron's movies too.
CinemaWAR. Whew. Len is going to have his hands full with that CinemaWAR.
I think it's an easy decision, really.
No, you'll be wrong.
You better make a good argument.
Before we do bring in Len, a couple of notes at the top of the show. We like to say Cinemajaw happenings.
Oh, okay.
We had moved into a new studio a couple weeks ago, but this is the first time
It's been several months.
this is fully operational studio. In fact, I'm looking at Editor Phil, and if I can paint the picture here, we have about 7 microphones around us, and I can see Editor Phil through a glass window recording us. We've hit the big time here, Matt.
Yeah, let's just. Are we going to go ahead and promote him?
Yes, yeah, definitely. So, for one thing, to paint the picture, Jawheads, it's like he's the Robin in Howard Studios' studio, where she's behind the glass, like Bryce said. And so basically, an audio producer is the editor and the audio engineer pretty much together. And so that's why I was engineer Elias, and he was editor Phil. But now, yes, right, Matt?
He's producer Phil?
He is producer Phil, I believe.
So you need a new title.
I'm just coming out of the job box,
Yeah, coming out of the job box.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is crazy.
It is crazy. It's cool. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, on the up and up. So, Matt, let's bring in our guest. As you mentioned, we have wanted Len on the show for a long time. He has ran the Funny Firm Comedy Club, and as you mentioned, Matt, Jokes for Miles began. He is a co-founder. Len Austrevich, welcome to Cinemajaw.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And happy National Hot Dog Day.
Happy National Hot Dog Day.
Didn't even know
this. This
this.
is a big holiday for you, right?
This is huge for me.
And you know what? One thing we should mention right off the top. Full disclosure, I have one credit on IMDb, and it is because of Len.
That is correct.
Yes.
I think. I don't know.
Yes.
I haven't checked your IMDb in a long time.
Yeah.
Nor my own.
Me neither, man. So, I mean, can we start there with
Your show, baby.
I mean, let's do it. So we have a bit of a backstory. There was this film you made a few years ago, Chasing Robert.
Yes.
It was an interesting experience.
It was how not to make a movie. If I ever do a documentary, it's how not to make a movie. It was sort of my film school. And just, I don't know if it was a vanity project, I guess, and kind of collected all my friends who were comedians and came up with this strange plot, which we don't even have to talk about. But I got a lot of, Robert Hines is a friend of mine, and he was also a stand-up comic. And we got together and wrote this thing, and it kind of just kept growing, and it had script kept changing because more people would get involved, and we had a couple notables in there.
Don't hold back, man. Let's talk about the notables, because you say a couple of my friends, but there's some pretty interesting cats that I got to meet and some that I didn't that are in the movie.
Yeah, it was, I guess the first guy I asked was Paul Provenza, who's a big, he directed The Aristocrats, that movie.
Love that one.
Yeah, he's done that, and other things since then. He hosts The Green Room and had his own show, Comics Only, that was my first writing job on Comedy Central many moons ago. And that's where I started meeting comedians, plus, when they were coming through the club back in the day. So he was in it, and Andy Dick was in it, who's another guy that started at The Funny Firm. So he got his chops there, and always gave him spots on open mic nights, and before you knew it, he took off. And so he was in that, and Dan Castellaneta, who's the voice of Homer Simpson.
Sure.
Jeff Garlin, an old buddy as well from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And let's see, who else do we have? Larry Miller, who's been in a ton of the Christopher Guest films. And
Yeah.
And just a brilliant stand-up comic. And Richard Jeni, the late Richard Jeni, was in it. And let's see, Richard Portnow, who was the soprano, or I think it was Junior Soprano's lawyer, and he's been in just, if you saw him, you'd know him. He was in Goodfellas and just a string of hundreds of movies. So that was it. And Lynn Shay, who was from Something About Mary, and little other parts here and there. So I think that's about the list of notables.
It's a cool list, man. And it's interesting that you said it was like your film school, because it definitely was for me as well. And I've seen like 3 cuts of the movie, and one of the things that I sort of learned is it's almost like building a puzzle, right? Like all the scenes we shot, you have the 3 different cuts were like 3 completely different movies.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was fun to kind of learn. I found that you can really almost write the movie in the editing room. It just kind of, everything changes. And the way we shot is we just shot so much stuff that we were able to do that. And people would, for example, let's see, we had Dana Gould. Do you know who Dana Gould is?
Sounds familiar.
Comic, brilliant guy. He's got a show now on AMC. He's a brilliant guy, and I wanted him to do a part, and I wanted him to play a priest, and I wanted Jeff Garlin to play a psychiatrist, and they said, no, like the day of the shoot, let's switch parts. So we ended up switching parts, and that happened a lot, so there was completely different takes on it, and when you're dealing with guys who are improvisers, and I was very rigid with the script, and they would honor that, but then they would go off. And then so a whole scene would change one way, and I would find a way to kind of turn the plot and twist it. And Jeff Garlin, actually, I was almost wrapped on the film, and I ran into him backstage at Conan O'Brien when they were at the Chicago Theater. Hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I'm doing a movie. You want to, help me out? We're shooting in L.A. Oh, of course, I'd help you out. And so then I'm writing a part, and then so we just kept adding people and parts with the same through line of what the play was, or the movie.
So what's the state of the film today?
It's dead. It is no more.
After all this, right?
It has done nothing but make many investors very, very pissed off. Well, no, I mean, I was actually getting ready to promote it and go out to Los Angeles. We had a million different cuts of it, scored it, and a lot of different editors, too, that we went through it. The guy who actually edited The Aristocrats jumped in and said, hey, let me take a pass at it, completely different style, cut it way different and fast and more contemporary the stuff is now. And I was getting ready to go out to LA, and unfortunately that week is when my son was diagnosed with cancer. He had brain cancer.
Yeah.
And of course, my life flipped upside down, and never really had the opportunity, just because it was a pretty extensive ride with him. Lasted 4 years, and literally from the time he was diagnosed till the time he died, it was just nonstop spending time in hospitals and flying all over the country trying to different treatments and things like that. So kind of my life took a little different turn there, and but I've talked about either trying to do it as a documentary or because it's different. A lot of people will see it, will say, I'll put some funny scenes up against any other funny scenes, and I think just to kind of tell that story of what happened and how this thing came to be and the way it evolved was interesting. And then you throw in the mix of me having to stop it. I think it's a kind of a fun story. So
Yeah.
so hopefully we can do that and then get all the best scenes and show them in that, and then release it if we can. But there's still hope. We haven't released it. I haven't even put it out there yet.
Well, it's on IMDb, like we mentioned.
It is, but there's no copies of it out there.
Yeah. I want to see it. But anyway, not to jump topics here, but you did mention your son, which sort of brings us to Jokes for Miles, which is the project you've dedicated yourself to.
Yep.
Through everything you've been through.
For sure. When he was sick, he spent a lot of time in the hospital in isolation, and of course, I ran the Funny Firm, and I was also running the Lakeshore Theater at that time, which is now it's the Laugh Factory. But he would work with me there. He was 15, 16 years old, and when he got diagnosed, I was still hosting and doing shows over there, and I come back to the hospital and I go, you got to see this bit, which all comedians do. You got to see this guy's bit, and you act the bit out and you tell him. And long and short of it, he was in the hospital, he got diagnosed, and he really, cancer does a weird thing to you. It really twists the way you think, and it's kind of almost robs you of reason. And I remember asking him, hey, did your friends come see you this weekend? And he said, no. And I go, well, what happened? I don't know. I don't feel like I don't even have friends. And it's just like this kid was the most popular kid in school, but because, kids in the hospital and the, other high schoolers are scared,
Yeah.
They don't know what to do. So that made me go, okay, I'll show you how people don't like you. And
Yeah.
I took it upon myself to just go out and tape his friends telling him jokes. So and asking the comedians. So the first group of local comics, the comedians you should know. I don't know if you know who they
Yes.
are. Yeah. So all those guys were the first comics that actually did it. And then I did a joke-a-thon at a school, and kids started talking to him, and it was a way that I was putting it up online, and he could see how much people really appreciated it. And I made this goal of trying to get 5,000 jokes for people to tell him jokes, and it took off. So before you knew it, we were on the news here, and then we got onto World News Tonight, and made it to the Yahoo homepage because a lot of different celebrities and musicians and people were getting behind that cause.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing was, you could, we realized how much impact you could make on someone who's going through something like that, just in terms of giving them energy and taking their mind off of it. So as we were doing it, literally the first joke I showed him was Jay Leno, because a friend of mine, T-Shawn, I don't know if you remember him, T-Shawn Shannon is another comedian. He was a writer for him. And he just asked him, hey, could you tell this kid a joke? He tells the joke, and that was really the first one that I showed him. And he was like, wow, this is great, and we got to do this for other kids. I mean, it was like the first joke. So that's where his heart and spirit was, and that's actually why I've continued it on, because he wanted me to do this for other kids. And, I saw firsthand, as a parent, you can't really do anything medical. You have to make decisions what treatment you go with. But I wanted to do whatever I could, and because that was our world, and he was a huge film buff and loved comedy and music, that's the way I could kind of take his mind off of what was going on. And I actually kind of use it as therapy. I've said this to someone the other day. We ended up getting Tina Fey in the cast of The Wire, and I tried to go after the people that really he loved and who he admired. Bill Murray, and what I would do is, it was a pretty tough road, and he'd get you'd have a remission, and then it comes back, and you'd be ups and downs, and I kind of would wait to show the really cool guys when he was really low, and just to see the energy that gave them, I knew it was powerful. So that kind of became the mission, and he wanted us to move forward, and so that's now what we're doing. We're ready to launch a huge site, which you can go on there and pick a kid from anywhere in the world, and you can tell a joke. We've built a module on it so that you can go right from your phone
So
or your...
users can actually upload their own jokes.
Absolutely.
For kids that are going through cancer.
Yeah, you pick a kid out, and it doesn't have to be a joke. It could be, hey, wishing you well, or hello from Dubuque, or whatever you want. And so I try to make it as simple and easy and get all the hurdles that we had with Miles when he was doing it, because people, it's only 5, 6, 7 years ago, but people would tape, and then how do I email it to you? And it wasn't, the technology wasn't there, but now we've... Actually, 3 kids who went to Northside Prep with him have stayed on and helped me build this website, and it's very robust. And we've been working on it for like 5 years, and it's can handle a ton of traffic. And so we're about to launch that, and you can jump on there and sometime in September for Pediatric Awareness Month. You can jump on there and tell a joke to a kid.
And what's the website?
It's jokesformiles.com.
And that's not all Jokes for Miles is doing, right? You're donating a bunch of production to...
Yeah, I mean, the other end of it is we started developing support for Miles, which is more concentrated on caregivers and parents. And that started from, Miles and I walking around the hospital, and, hey, you're the kid that was on the news. And they would start asking questions, and you'd open up conversations with other parents. And they would be asking, hey, what do you do when they start bullying your kid at the school? Or what, they started asking questions, and Miles and I would actually come in on Sundays and just start talking to parents and just sharing war stories. We're 2 years into it. Let us give you that, impart that information that we have that you're not going to see in a book, or you're not going to hear from the social worker, for that perspective from another caregiver or parent. And I realized nobody was doing this, so even back then I started taping parents with little tips, so peer-to-peer caregiver tips. So jump forward to when I lost him, I wanted to, with the film and production background, to kind of thank all the charities that really meant a lot to him. So I made little promotional videos just to kind of help tell their story, because I realized a lot of these guys don't really know how to market, and you and I are in marketing, and so how do you build an email list? How do you put videos up there? So I started doing that for all his favorite charities, and realized that it was making a huge impact. We'd make these videos, and they'd be trying to raise $40,000, and they raise $120,000 just because of the impact of these.
That's awesome.
These
Pieces
stories,
of content, sure.
Yeah. So then we started donating that to other charities. So right now we kind of support kids that are going through cancer, the parents and families and caregivers through interactive, forums and asking questions, and then putting these tips up. Here's how you challenge, your doctor. Or this is how you get a second opinion, or this is how you draw your records. And it's all from the people that are, a year or two down the line, for the people that are just diagnosed, so they can kind of get it from that perspective.
Yeah, support.
Yeah.
And then we do the support for charities. We want to reach out to try to help these guys spread the word or raise money for research. And we only do stuff if you're referred by a parent or another charity. So we have a good vetting system, if you will, to get things going. And then we have this little, you've been over to the facility that will open again in September, which is a little T-shirt shop. We a guy named Jeremy Kaplan and Natasha have helped me put this whole thing together, and Jeremy's been kind enough to underwrite the whole thing, and he thought that there was something pure in the fact that we never asked for money. So our whole thing is we ask for jokes, not donations. And he himself, the way he reacted to it is, hey, this is something that's pure and good, and we should make, this is just as important to the mission to let someone know when you're walking down the street, you can pick up your phone and really make a huge impact. So that's really what drew him into it. And we were working with filmmakers and guys that were going out and shooting our joke-a-thons and things like that, and we would do fun stuff and do sketches too. And then we just started building this relationship with a lot of filmmakers, and they would come in, so they would tape stuff. We do biographies on kids, and we have a space too that we do screenings at. There's like 200 seats, and families that want to come in here, we'll let them have a party, and we cover all the costs. And so it's kind of a fun little, hangout community center. And it's not like you walk in the door and it's cancer, cancer, cancer. We try to focus away from that, even though that's the community. And we try to do events that integrate just, people so that they don't have to think about that. But they know that this place is especially for them. So
Wow. It's awesome.
Right?
I got to say, listening to this, especially in the times we live in, I can get really down on our society and humanity. And this 5 minutes of listening to Len talk has given me hope that there is good people in the world
Oh
like
my
Len.
God.
This is amazing.
It's not even, I was the slimy club owner that wanted to sell drinks and get an Academy Award and accolades. And what changed me is just realizing that about people. When you get into that world, people are just not judgmental. They just want to help you. So many of my great friends, and strangers, a lot of strangers. And that was, wow, this you can't believe people would rally to your support. And that's really kind of what made Miles blown away, is the fact that it wasn't, he liked the celebrities and he liked all those people, but the schools that, the librarians would get 20 kids to tell a joke, or someone he was always drawn by, wow, they put a team together to run at a 5K in honor of me. So that really did change my perspective on life. And so, yeah, it's weird that, people are kind of look at me weird when I say, the best time of my life was from the day he got diagnosed to the day he died. It was just so rich and full, and we always just concentrated on laughing and really appreciating as we went through the journey how good people really are. So.
Yeah. And it's amazing, too, just what humor is for, like a cure in a way. Like a lot of times.
The best medicine, right?
It is,
Yeah.
isn't it? I mean, you're down, and to get humor from people that you know and people that you don't know that are trying to be funny for you is sometimes it breaks down, not only when you're sick, but also when you have differences in culture, too. Humor is that bridge that sort of helps everybody.
Absolutely.
That's a good point. And another thing that I think people maybe miss sometimes in your story is a lot of times people like, what can I do to help out? Whatever your talents are, like with Len, it was comedy and marketing, but, writing movie reviews or whatever it is, if you have some sort of skill or talent, that's what you can do. Figure out a way to connect with something that matters. So, and I applaud you, sir, for doing that.
Well,
Len.
thank you.
You're welcome.
It's been a great ride and moving forward and doing great stuff. We're starting to make inroads in the medical community and working with hospitals and setting up social programs. But I can go on and on. Shut me up.
Good stuff. But I'm sure the Jawheads listening to this do want to get involved. The best place to find more information out online, one more time.
Jokesformiles.com.
Definitely go there. And you could start telling jokes in September.
In September, yeah. I don't think the camera module is up yet, but we're beta testing. You can send me an email at len@jokesformiles.com. And if you want to help us test the new site out, send me an email and I'll get you a password, because we're going through that whole beta testing thing there. Yeah. And then you can tell lots of jokes.
Yeah, because, we got some funny listeners like Flicker Joe. Flicker Joe's probably like, I'm going to tell these guys a joke they can't believe,
Yeah, and like you said, it doesn't necessarily even have to be a joke. Do a magic trick. Do
Could
something.
do whatever.
I'm going to do a magic trick. That's what I'm going to do.
Do it.
I will.
We have a whole section. When you go on now, when you come back to the site, we have 5,000 jokes on there. You can sort whatever kind you want. So you can say, I want to see magic jokes, I want to see puns, and you can kind of sort through and it'll show you that. Or you want to see athletes that tell this type of jokes, because we had a lot of athletes and a lot of different groups, and that's part of what we're going to do when we try to create these social media activities where we would have contests. Who's going to tell more jokes? Doctors, lawyers, etc.
Len, I'm putting you on the spot here. Of all the jokes that were told for Jokes for Miles, is there one that is your favorite, and who was it told by? An
old guy, and it was Miles' favorite joke, and that's how it kind of became my joke. But my brother was hosting a bunch of, he's a karaoke guy. So he would, at the end of his karaoke night, he would say, okay, we're going to tell jokes. So this old guy was like 7 years old, and this was my favorite joke. And he said, a guy goes into the doctor's office, and he says, Doc, I don't know what's going on. One night I dream I'm a wigwam, and the other night I dream I'm a teepee. And what's up with that? And the doctor says, you're too tense. The stupidest joke in the world, but I don't know. So that's maybe anticlimactic, but that's my favorite joke.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Great delivery. Yeah, I agree.
Good stuff. All right, Len is sitting in on this entire jaw. We like to end all of our guest interviews with some silly cinema cues. Get to know the guest through the eye of the lens. Elias, do you got something for Len?
We do normally like to end it with silly cinema cues, but I was listening about your website and your whole journey, and it was very amazing. I didn't have time to come up with something silly. Although in honor of Jokes for Miles, I will tell a silly joke.
That's good. Yeah.
It is. Okay, so what kind of shoes does Mr. Peanut wear?
I don't know, Elias. What kind of shoes?
Cashews.
Oh, wow. You even got the laugh track.
Can I tell you that out of all the jokes, I haven't heard that one?
Really?
I haven't heard that
I
one.
feel like I think I came up with it, but after a couple
he came
years,
up with it.
I think I did, but I'm not. It's been so many years that I'm like maybe I didn't. And
I've
so-
never heard that joke. Awesome. And I'm
Oh,
going to
man.
steal it and tell it tomorrow. Hey, guys, I wrote a new joke last night.
Go for
And I will
it.
give you no credit
Yeah,
at all.
all right, all
That's
right.
a great joke.
You know we're recording this,
I,
right?
oh, that's right. I forgot. Just seems like someone's living room.
All right, Ryan, go ahead. You got to do one now.
Oh, man. A joke?
Yeah. Everyone's got one. You want me to go first? I
Yeah,
got
go
a
ahead.
really corny one. Everyone's heard this. What's brown and sticky?
What?
Never heard.
A stick.
Yes.
Ah.
Now that's funny too, because when Miles, when they first started posting them, we'd have so many people repeating, and I would string them all together with like 50 people, or not 50, but 25 people who told all the same jokes, and that was one of those.
I'll go with one of them that I heard, I think Matt tell on the show, and it always stuck with me. I use it with
Oh, well, thank you.
what I like to call when I get up on stage and I do my superhero humor.
Oh,
And
okay.
this is the one where the Flash is walking along the beach and he sees.
Boy, you just went to a whole different place.
This will be great for the children.
Yes, and the Flash comes running around and.
Well done, Ryan. Well done.
I like any joke. That's a great joke.
Oh, it's a classic. It's an absolute classic.
And speaking of superheroes, there was this kid up in that we did a joke campaign who loves superheroes, and so we got a bunch of people just to tell superhero jokes, and we strung it together, and then we had sent them some presents in Seattle, and we had superheroes deliver it. So that's the other thing that we do. We make specific campaigns for kids, but not to keep bringing it back there.
No, bring it on back.
Thought
as
I
many
would
times as you
share
want.
that.
No, I do. We always end our interviews saying, get involved, Jawheads. But this time, I think we truly mean, if you could, get involved with Jokes for Miles. It's the best.
Yeah,
you know?
even now producer Phil picked up a boom mic and was out there one weekend helping out the cause. So
Oh, cool! I didn't. He went out to the BTB thing.
yes, he did.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's great that there's so many filmmakers willing to jump in. I will push one thing, rockstarrosie.com. We tell stories of important kids. This kid, 12 years old, has raised almost $1 million for charity. She has brain cancer and relentless and just wiped out financially, and we're trying to help her with a caring pay or Go Care. I'm not sure what it is, but BTB's doing that. We don't ask for money. We highlight other people. If you want to just be inspired and see an amazing story, rockstarrosie.com. Watch that. And WGN is doing a feature on her that will air either Friday or Monday.
Awesome.
Wow.
That is awesome.
Do it. Check it out. We got a great guest who's going to be helping us with
Yeah.
stand-up comedy turned actors.
Yeah. I wonder how many of these people he actually knows firsthand.
They may come up. Yeah.
I agree.
And as we get into that list, we'll talk to Len how he got involved in the comedy world. So we got a lot more with Len coming up. It brings us to a segment called Eye for an Eye, Interested or Ignore. Elias.
Yes, Eye for an Eye, Atomic Blonde. An undercover MI6 agent is sent to Berlin during the Cold War to investigate the murder of a fellow agent and recover a missing list of double agents. The film stars Charlize Theron, James McAvoy, and John Goodman. It is directed by David Licht, who is a former stuntman and helped with the first John Wick film. We throw it over to Rye.
Seen the trailer for this. It seems like it's been out for months.
Yeah, long time.
Right? Seen it many times. And it is a really cool trailer. That is my fear for the movie. It is just going to be really cool sort of cover, right? But if you peel back that cover, there's not going to be a whole lot of substance there. That's my fear. This is going to be like a light, even John Wick type film. That said, I think Charlize Theron looks cool as hell, and I'm in for the fun ride, but I'm not expecting a whole lot. Slight interested. Matt?
Well, first of all, secret agents of the world, stop making lists of all your agents. It didn't work out well in Mission Impossible.
Sure didn't.
It's just a bad idea. You're a secret agent. Stop writing your name down on a Google spreadsheet. What the hell? But Charlize Theron is awesome in just about everything she does. So, and it's got kind of a Sin City vibe. I'm interested.
We throw it over to Len. Interested or ignore on Atomic Blonde?
I got to tell you, until I just heard you guys, when I saw the commercial, I did not know it was
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron. I can't say her name, but I love her movies.
Yeah.
So I kind of dismissed it. And now hearing about the cast and hearing whatever. And I almost felt like guilty, like, oh, I want to see it. Do I just want to see it because that girl looks the way she does? So I dismissed it, but now knowing this, I'm definitely interested.
3 interesteds for Atomic Blonde. We throw it to Elias. You making it a perfect 4?
I am. And my one reason is John Goodman. Give me Goodman.
Ditto.
Yeah.
He's great.
It's fair.
Yep.
Absolutely.
4 interesteds for Atomic Blonde. Speaking of new movies, Matt, every couple of years we are treated to a new film by Christopher Nolan. These have become event movies or must-see films. It is because of this that Nolan has some of the biggest freedoms when it comes to his projects. His latest film, Dunkirk, is the story he has wanted to tell and tell right since he started making movies. Matt and I hit the theater to see just how right he got it.
The enemy tanks have stopped.
Why?
Why waste precious tanks when they can pick us off from the air like fish in a barrel?
There are 400,000 men on this beach.
The Battle of Dunkirk took place in May of 1940. That is roughly a year and a half before Pearl Harbor and the Americans entered the war. The Germans were winning the ground battle in France, eventually trapping Allied troops on the beaches of Dunkirk. Things looked very bleak for the over 400,000 troops stranded there with the English Channel at their backs and no way to cross it to retreat. With German tanks stalling, the entire nation of Britain sprung into action. With air and ground coverage by British and French forces, troops were evacuated from Dunkirk using just about every and any boat they could find. This included several hundred civilian boats that sailed into a war zone to bring Britain's sons home. When you are talking about the rescue of over 300,000 troops, the scope is epic. So Christopher Nolan decided to not focus on a single personal story. Instead, he divides Dunkirk into 3 stories, or 3 perspectives of the rescue mission. You have Tom Hardy as a fighter pilot taking on German planes in spectacular dogfights in the sky. Mark Rylance plays an Englishman who sets sail towards the beaches of Dunkirk with his son and another local boy in his own boat with hopes of saving some lives. And finally, you have the perspective of the troops waiting rescue. It is here, with the troops on the beach, where I think the film succeeds the most. I have never been so scared watching a war film before. Yes, there are frightening scenes, Private Ryan, Normandy Beach, but I felt fear from start to finish while watching Dunkirk. No one accomplishes this without ever showing the enemy. Yes, we see a Nazi plane and we see a sub fire a torpedo at one point, but you never see one Nazi soldier in the film, yet their presence is always there. Once again, Hans Zimmer scores Nolan's film, and I can't say enough good things about it. The score, accompanied by an amazing sound design, make this one of the most immersive films I have ever seen. From bullets being fired, to planes flying overhead, to bombs being dropped, I felt I was there. As scary as I found the situation the men faced on screen, I was still able to appreciate the beauty of this film. Damn, did this thing look gorgeous on the big screen. I can't say enough good things about Dunkirk. Matt, were you as immersed as I was?
Yes and no. So I agree with a lot of what you just said about how beautiful it was. But the synopsis, right? Listen, this movie is, much like your review, an indulgent snooze fest, man. It is just like, I wanted to take a nap about halfway through it. Listen, Hans Zimmer is a genius. And if there's one thing that practically saved the movie for me, it is he's got this like stopwatch tick, 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 tick that goes through it. And one of the things I said in a review that I did for the film is that it's like a failed Jack in the Box, because you crank it and and you expect the thing to pop out at the end. Nothing pops out. It's like, oh, this one's broken, guys. Sorry. Boring. It doesn't go anywhere. Yes, evacuating 300,000 people was a very important moment in a very important and historical war. But that doesn't mean we have to make a movie about it. It's freaking boring.
I don't think it was boring at all. And I think I think I read your review, and you were sort of down on the fact that there wasn't this sort of personal story. Like
There's
a
no
story.
story.
Right.
There's no story.
By following these three, and I should note, these three timelines, these three perspectives actually take place, and this is sort of Nolan crafting it in Inception especially. They're taking place at three different times. And we had saw each other after the screening, and you actually called this a gimmick, which I think is the wrong word to use, because it's really just a way of telling the story and giving each of those three perspectives the same amount of screen time, because the fighter pilot, say by Tom Hardy, only is really in the sky for a couple of hours on a day of the rescue. Mark Rylance, as I mentioned, coming across, is there for a day, but the troop story is about a week. Yet he's showing these all in about the same amount of screen time, and they all sort of converge at the same time. It was remarkable how that came to me. To me, I thought that was awesome.
It was he's doing like his Memento thing, right? He's just playing with time. In Memento, it served a purpose. It functioned as part of the character's personal affliction, his mental state. He had a memory problem, so he remembered things back to front, and that's what made that story function. In this, it's just a gimmick. Like he I guess does it to sort of try to inject some kind of story into what otherwise there's almost no dialogue whatsoever. There's really no story here other than the synopsis. It's like, okay, the Allied forces were trapped on the beach and they were evacuated.
Well, it was a remarkable story, and he's trying to tell the story as the heroes, not of like, oh, we went and we saved Private Ryan, so we know this one particular story. He was trying to give you the whole epic of the rescue. So,
but it wasn't that compelling. There was
it was very compelling. My body, Len, my body was actually tense from watching this movie. I've never really felt that. I mean,
was it too tense?
Almost,
was it a TPN wigwam?
No, but I almost needed like a back rub after the movie. That's how like I was just so
every
into
time
this
you
film.
ask me for a back rub, the answer is going to be no.
No, but
You're
seriously,
asking the wrong guy.
but seriously, he even really doesn't give like a whole lot of screen time to say like Tom Hardy, or I guess he doesn't make it personal to the troops, because he's trying to tell the troops are almost all faceless in a way, because it's all their story. It's not just one or two of them. And that's where I actually think the film succeeds, where most war films don't even ever attempt that. They always try to narrow the focus down on just maybe one battalion, or a couple of troops, or the colonel's last stand. He was really trying to show the scope of everybody here was a hero. I mean, there wasn't 2-3 heroes. There were 300,000 heroes that day.
Well, I'll tell you something that's interesting in listening to you guys. Obviously you're not as hot on the film as he is, but what you're both saying makes me want to see it. Everything all the
That's
pictures
good.
he's picking, and what you're saying, well, it was just this, and even the TikTok, and it's boring. It seems like to have that kind of cumulative, take on it. I can't. I want to go. Is it playing? I want to go see it now.
Yeah, it's out right now, and I will say this. I'm down on this film a little bit, Len. You're right, but it's Christopher Nolan, okay, and he hasn't really ever made anything that's bad, and this is no exception. It's a good movie, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's a visual.
He did do Paul Bart. Mall Cop.
Oh, all right. Well, that's his one misstep.
Yeah, okay, anyway.
No, you're touching on that note, I would say technically speaking, we're talking about the way he filmed it, the sound design. I mean, the bullets going through some of the boats, and the score that you mentioned, almost perfect. There's not a flaw in the movie.
Yeah, if only he had a story, it would have been a great movie.
See, I like the idea that he had this 3 storylines that were just telling the entire rescue and not focused on one particular
Every
soldier.
beach has some seashells, but it's mostly just sand.
Terrible.
I feel like Matt was probably just waiting for Batman to show up, and he was let down when he didn't show up.
Yeah, where was the Dark Knight? He would have saved it.
So speaking of Matt, did you have any scene in particular you had the most trouble with?
So I mentioned the Hans Zimmer's little tick, 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 tick watch effect, which I absolutely thought was genius. And then, again, they're on this train, and I won't explain it's a historical movie, so everyone knows what happens. But the soldiers are on a train, and suddenly that note stops. And you would expect it to be some sort of momentous thing, right, that's happened. Yeah. And spoiler alert, it's not. They're just there was nothing at the end of this great build of tension for me. Trouble scene.
I have to say, it's amazing, because I've been doing the show for 8 years now with Matt Kay, that we can be so completely different. Okay, when the ticking stopped and they were coming home on the train, tears just coming down my eyes. That these guys had finally gotten home and that tension was finally gone. That was the relief. It was like that bomb didn't go off. It could have killed all those. They were just hopeless, sitting there waiting to be killed. And guess what? They didn't get killed. The bomb didn't go off. And it was such a relief. But
wow.
So
that sounds like it's your favorite scene.
Oh, no, not there. But let me say one that I had trouble with. And it wasn't really, this is nitpicking here, but there is a point where the soldiers, there's two soldiers we sort of follow that are trying to get on, all these soldiers are trying to get on the few boats that are actually around. And these two soldiers eventually get onto a boat and they get down into the hall and they're being fed.
Yeah.
And one of them goes outside and a guy says to the other soldier, "Where's your friend?" And he says, "Oh, he's always looking for a way out." And it was way too much foreshadowing that something was going to happen to the boat right there.
They didn't have to say it.
They didn't have to say it. I think we just picked up on it. And there's been complaints about Christopher Nolan's movies that there may be too much explaining. And in this one, there's almost no dialogue. And of the few dialogue, he gives away like, oh, he's always looking for a way out. Well, 5 minutes later, they're in trouble again.
Okay.
So that was the only time.
I see. Matt, so you said it was gorgeous. You at least gave some props to that.
I did.
Any favorite scene?
Yeah, Rye hit it right on the head. The fighter pilots, they're flying through the sky. You see this is daytime, bright sun glimmering off the ocean. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Those dogfights were awesome. For my favorite scene, though, is it opens up with one of the soldiers coming out onto the beach, and he sees this entire mass of people.
300,000, right?
Yeah, waiting for rescue. And he actually walks out on the beach, and right around that time, the soldiers start hearing a Nazi warplane coming overhead, and it's terrifying. And see this in the best theater you can. It's going around the theater. You can hear this thing coming, and they all sort of drop to the sand, to the beaches, and covering their heads, but they have really nowhere to go. They're just sitting ducks. And the plane comes in and starts coming towards the screen right where our hero's head is buried in the sand and starts dropping bombs right in line with them as it's coming towards the camera. And of course, this is the guy we're going to follow the rest of the time. It ends up sort of missing him, in succession. But right before him, a soldier gets blown out of the sand. And it really encompasses what this is all about. These guys were sitting ducks, and the fear that these guys had to wait, just sitting there.
Sounds like an amazing atmosphere with the sound like you're talking about. And what was that one of the first ever movies where a train came towards the camera and everybody freaked out?
The great train robbery.
Can you imagine with this?
It was incredible.
Wow. All right. How about movie influences?
Memento, obviously, because he's playing with time. It's very difficult to extract Saving Private Ryan from this movie. Maybe it's the beach thing. I don't know. Rye said it twice in his review. It's there. And then I'd say The King's Speech. It's a very British movie. It's told from a very British point of view. So there you go. And
it's about all the British troops, right? But I went with two war movies. One, The Longest Day, which is this huge montage of what was going on D-Day with all these different stars and all these different stories. It was the closest thing that I can think of scope-wise that had been done before. And then as far as a rescue mission going and with the newer sort of technology we have when it comes to filming, I went with Black Hawk Down, which was, sort of a rescue mission.
No way. So. Why? Just because it's war?
Yeah.
All right.
I just
Black Hawk Down actually has some action.
This is much better than Black Hawk Down. And I like Black Hawk Down, but...
okay.
Can I just say that I love The Longest Day? That's a great film.
Yeah.
It is.
I just saw it for the first time last year. So.
Yeah, I remember watching that on WGN many times late at night as a kid. And I hate Momentum, whatever that movie is.
Christopher Nolan's Memento?
The most annoying thing to me.
We just did our... it's okay, Len. We just did our top 10, and that was my number one Nolan film.
I tried to go back and revisit it, and... Jeez, I just can't.
I think it's a divisive movie. You either love it or hate it.
I felt like you're just trying to mess with me. It wasn't like
it's a gimmick.
Not even. It's a gimmick, but it's like his goal was more to. I will say this: I walked out of there and thought a lot about the movie. So in that regard, that's how I judge a movie. If I think a lot about it. Did I like actually the experience? But I do like the fact when I watch something, Aronofsky is another guy that makes me think. So when I'm watching that, it gets kudos. But for the actual, I don't know.
Did you feel like it was more of a puzzle than it was a movie?
I guess maybe I just didn't understand it. I didn't know what I was going into, and I was with my son who loved it, and it was driving me crazy that he liked it so much. And then it was like, no, how could you like this? And I don't know. I guess maybe it was not knowing anything about it. I didn't know what to expect.
You went in completely dark?
Because I usually, like what we just listened to here, I will not ever listen to anything at all. If someone says, don't even tell me, good or bad.
Well, this was
and thank you for ruining it for me, by the way.
Yeah, we just totally ruined Dunkirk.
I don't even have to go now.
Seriously.
But
I was thinking the same thing. Matt, did you learn anything from this film?
Yeah, unless a World War II film has something very new to say, I'm just not interested in the genre. Give me something new. I mean,
Wow.
seriously.
Wow.
World War II we have covered.
Oh, my God. This is a guy that doesn't think we're getting redundant with the superhero movies. And unbelievable. What did I learn, you ask, Matt K? I would say, believe it or not, that Harry Styles from One Direction, who was in Dunkirk, actually has an acting career. He did quite well.
Wow. I think that might be the one that went solo, and his music actually isn't too bad either.
Yeah, and it's not like a large part, He was in there for about 10 to 15 minutes, but he actually does pretty good. And there isn't a whole lot of dialogue in this movie, as Matt said, but that's probably the scene that has the most dialogue when there's these troops that are in sort of the hull of the boat there. So, and that was with Harry Styles, so I liked it.
I'm just so tired of the same. We're getting Save It Private Ryan again and again and again.
Not at all.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Matt K, I'm so excited to hear what your movie poster quote would be.
I have two.
Oh, all right.
I have a mean one and a nice one. My nice one is, this ain't no day at the beach. No? And my mean one is just snore sound effect. Just.
Wow. A lot of jawheads have probably now seen this film, and they're just probably rolling their eyes at Matt K.
No, I bet you.
Snorefest in this movie?
You know what?
No way. Here's
That's
listen.
what I thought about it.
My movie poster quote is this: "No reason to retreat when Christopher Nolan's at the helm."
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Let's assign some jaws here, Matt. What do you got?
You can't objectively say this is a bad movie. I didn't care for it very much, but I would say it's definitely a 3-jaw movie.
All right. See how he comes around after he's given the snore effect and all this.
It's boring. It would have got 4 stars if it had a story, but I mean, you cannot say from a technical point of view that it wasn't a very well-crafted film.
This, Matt K, is a 4-jaw movie. Yes.
No,
4 jaws from Ride the Movie Guy. It's a jaw gem.
Snooze fest.
And Matt's definitely in the minority here. I saw Peter Travis of Rolling Stone has now come out and said this is the greatest war movie of all time.
Wow.
Entertainment Weekly has come out and said this is Christopher Nolan's greatest movie of all time. So it's high praise, and Matt just missed the boat on this one.
No.
He was stuck on
I
the
got
beach
on the
of
first
Dunkirk.
boat and I was back in England.
4 jaws from Ride the Movie Guy, 3 jaws from Matt K. If you've seen it, agree, disagree, write us feedback at cinemajaw.com. We'll read those reviews on the next show. No comedians in this one.
No stand-up comedians at all.
No, but that is our topic this week because we have Len in studio here.
Yeah.
And Len, you're going to get us started on this list. I got 2 questions for you. One, was it a difficult list for you to come up with?
yes, because I wasn't sure what my criteria was.
That's
Was
what
it-
we specifically
good.
leave it open on
Yeah,
purpose.
I was like, okay, is these the best performers? Is this the best performance? Is that, are they the same as they are when they're a stand-up? So there was a lot of, yes, it was difficult to come up with.
And my second question was, have you seen any of the comedians perform who are on your list?
Yes. Let me
Okay.
think. Yes. Yes. One no.
Okay. So you let us know who that one no is.
I will do that.
You're getting us started this week. What's your number 5 favorite stand-up comedian turned actor?
And that's the one I can't decide which one is. I got to leave off the list. I narrowed it down.
It's tough.
And we
It's
do
tough.
have honorable mentions at the end.
Okay,
So.
well, all right, then if I could do a couple of those, I think I know what to do. All right. Number 5, Kevin Pollak.
Wow.
Also turned great podcaster.
This
by
is
the
an
way.
honorable mention for me. I actually had it at 5, and I bumped him off my list at the end. But
Me too. He was back and forth.
I just heard him on Craig Ferguson on XM. He has a show.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about his stand-up comedy. And that's why it clicked for me. God, what a great actor he turned out to be.
Yeah, unbelievable. I've always been a big fan of him. He was one of the first guys I booked, when I could, just because I wanted to meet him. But I loved him in Avalon. I loved him in Grumpy Old Men.
A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men, yeah.
A Few Good Men and Grumpy Old Men. Are you familiar with that one?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So in terms of, the only reason he was on the fence is that it wasn't the wide range that I really like. But in terms of a stand-up transitioning, like if anybody would say, who do you want to be, or whose career would you want to emulate, it would be his, because he had kind of a taste of everything, and he did so many great films and worked with so many great actors, and obviously he has acting chops. But is he the best? I don't know, but I enjoy him. And I think from someone to make that transition, he's up there.
I just don't know his comedy that well.
His stand-up, you never saw it?
I mean, not really.
I've seen it quite a bit.
It's not that great. He did a lot of impressions. He's a great impressionist, and not that, back when we were doing it, people would frown upon that. But it wasn't that great stand-up, but he definitely has, I think, a great presence on screen.
Yeah, no arguments here. It swings it to my number 5, and at number 5, I have, I think arguably one of the titans of comedy. She's one of the 3 hosts of Just for Laughs, Whoopi Goldberg. Is it Just for Laughs that she's a host of?
No, she's hosted the Academy Awards. She's hosted The View or The
You
Talk.
mean the Robin Williams one?
Yeah, with Billy Crystal,
Yeah.
Robin Williams.
No, that was.
That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, We Are America.
No.
It's
no.
when they had.
We Are
every
the
year-
World.
Not We Are the World. Oh, it's going to drive me crazy.
Farm Aid.
It's the comedy version of Farm Aid that was on HBO. Oh, you're going to kill me. I'll think of
Throw
it.
it in the jaw box.
Comic relief, instant
Yes.
jaw box.
Okay,
Now that
thank
I'm
you.
free, I'm not recording.
All right.
Comic relief, that's what it is.
Yes. Anyway, so Whoopi Goldberg, here's the thing. My criteria, I was looking for somebody who actually has like range. They're not just going into it and they're still a comedic actor, but they can do comedy, they can do drama, and I think she showed us that. Well, mostly she's known for her comedic stuff, which is why I have her at number 5 and not higher. You look at a film like Color Purple, and there's a few other examples where she's got some dramatic range as well. And she even, popped up in an action movie here and there. I think Whoopi Goldberg, she's a great actress.
She's one of the only few that won like all the awards, like the Emmy, the Oscar, the Tony.
What did she win the Oscar for?
She won for Ghost.
For Ghost.
Yeah.
And I loved her in Ghost. I liked her in the first movie I saw, I think was The Player, which was an ensemble piece
by
with,
Robert Altman.
By Robert Altman, and she played a detective in there, and I think her partner was Lyle Lovett. So it was a very
Wow.
interesting combination, and that's the first thing I really liked. her
Lyle
in.
Lovett could almost be on this list. He's not on mine, but
He's
that's
not a
one
st-
that
He's not a stand-up.
Oh, he's not? Okay.
There were so many people I wanted this list, and I wanted them to be stand-up so that they could be on the list, but
All right.
weren't.
Swings it over to my number 5. And my number 5 and 4, I went with rather newer comic turned
That's cool.
actors. And they're ones that I'm hoping for even more, but I already like what I'm seeing. And at number 5, I have a gentleman by the name of Patton Oswalt.
Love Patton Oswalt.
Yeah.
And I love his stand-up from what I've seen and his acting. His films, you got Big Fan, where he's the obsessed football fan. He's a young adult with Charlize Theron. He was a voice in Ratatouille. He was also in The Informant with Matt Damon. Those are just some of the highlights. And he's becoming one of those guys that when I see him on screen, I'm happy that he's in the movie. You know those kind of guys?
Sure.
It's not like it's going to draw me to absolutely have to go see the movie, but when you see his name pop up in the credits, a smile comes across my face. Like, oh, great, Patton. I didn't know Patton Oswalt was in this film.
I didn't know he was as prolific as he is. Wasn't he on, what show was he on?
What
Raymond?
comedy show was he on?
No, wasn't he on a series for a while too?
I'm not positive. Throw it in the jaw box.
I think everyone loves Raymond, or one of those shows where I was like surprised. But he's a great writer. He writes great essays, and that's where I really, when I'm looking at a person as a talent, that notched him up too. So it automatically makes me like him more on the screen just because he's such a prolific, thoughtful writer.
Yeah, that was my number 5, Patton Oswalt. We're into our 4s. Len?
All right, number 4, Michael Keaton.
No arguments here.
Wow. I didn't know he was a stand-up. This is going
I
to come
didn't
as
either.
a shocker.
I didn't either.
I had no idea.
So when I was a young punk, I moved to LA at 18, and I used to hang out at the Comedy Store, and I hung out at the Improv. And I remember sitting on an open mic night watching him do it right before he hit. I was like, I don't know, maybe 18 at the time, and thought he was really funny. And the next thing I know, I saw him on Evening at the Improv or whatever, and then he took off. And his what was the first movie? I think he did Night Shift with Henry Winkler.
Yeah, wow.
And he, I
love that
liked
movie.
him in that. That was the first thing. And then he did Gung Ho, where he had the lead. I think it was with John Candy, and they were trying to turn around a Detroit.
And then he had like Johnny Dangerously written around
Then
there.
Johnny Dangerously and Beetlejuice,
Mr.
and
Mom.
Mr. Mom, and Pacific Heights, which is a great thriller.
Even Dream Team, which is a little smaller, but I loved him in that. Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just lately with Birdman and the Founder.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, this is a solid guy, and the kind of guy you look at and go, he was a stand-up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That to me, the growth from being a youngster up on stage to someone who is worthy of an Academy Award, which I believe he is.
really
I don't
was.
know if I think he's been nominated.
Yeah,
Batman, the
Birdman.
first-
Birdman was
Birdman
nominated.
did it not win?
He did not win.
But he got the film one.
Yeah, that Eddie Redmayne won for.
Right, but when you're in the star of a Best Picture, that almost counts, right?
And now he's in Spider-Man, Matt.
Things are just looking up and up for him.
That was a nice number 4. What do you got there, Matt?
At number 4, I have Jim Carrey. No build-up. I'm just going to throw it out there. I mean, again, I think while he's mostly known for his funnier roles in film, he's done some horror. He's done some drama. He's done one of Rye the Movie Guy's favorite dramas of all time, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Love it.
And you can argue he's kind of funny in every role he does. That's okay. He brings the humor to it. But I thought he was a great stand-up, and I think that he has at least tried to get some very good range under his belt.
And I
Truman Show's another great
I
one.
think he's succeeded. He's one of those that I think went the quote-unquote Tom Hanks way, where you start off in comedy roles, especially when it comes to movies, and you slowly start to take over those like semi-dramatic roles,
Yeah.
and then you can fully go dramatic, and he has. I think it's awesome.
So what happens if that was one of my numbers?
That's okay.
Can that drop out and then pull one of my other ones in?
Sure, if
Totally.
you want.
So I'll tell you why I like it.
Okay.
A brilliant physical comic, which I never appreciated until I watched the 25th Comedy Store reunion or special that they had, and just saw his ability as a physical comedian and all that, which we knew. But then to see him in Truman Show and Eternal Sunshine is just like, wow, look at the difference. And then seeing him as, didn't he play the Grinch?
He did play the Grinch,
And
yeah.
I'm like, wow, what range he has. And then, Dumb and Dumber. And he's got my longest list of movies I really like. Pet Detective, The Mask.
I love The Mask.
The Mask.
Underappreciated, I think.
That was Richard Jeni, who was in my movie, who's unfortunately passed on. He was his buddy in there. And, to see that, just the I think the iconic aura that he created, or roles of being repeating. When you go to the theater and you're Make My Day and you're repeating those things, just the power that he had to make kids say and repeat. I don't know.
He became part of the zeitgeist, the cultural tapestry. It's funny. He's almost a victim of his own success, where almost like a Mike Myers, where his catchphrases became so popular that it got a little bit grating.
And then he did also Man on the Moon, where he played Andy Kaufman.
Love that one. I
think-
always want to return to that film.
Yeah, I think then Milos Forman, some famous old auteur directed that.
Yeah, throw that in the jaw box. Who directed Man on the Moon? Just to double check for sure. Yeah, nice one. Good pick at number 4, Matt. Swings it over to my number 4, and this is my second of sort of newer comedians turned actors that I am really a big fan of lately. And this is a gentleman by the name of Nick Offerman.
Is he a stand-up?
He is a stand-up.
Oh, I'm right with you on that.
Yeah. And this is, he pops up in smaller roles. And again, a guy that when I see in the credits, I get excited for. He was in Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. The Founder you brought up with Michael Keaton. He plays one of the McDonald's brothers.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. That's Nick Offerman as one of the McDonald's
You
brothers.
just blew Len's mind.
I didn't realize that was him.
Yep. And now when you think about it, you're like, right.
Yeah, of course it is. What did I just see him in? He was in Come Back to Me. I just saw him in something that was really good.
He's also in a small film called The Kings of Summer, which I really loved and smashed with the kid from Breaking Bad, Aaron Paul. And love that movie also, especially if...
Does he not look like Grumpy Cat?
He does.
I mean, he's he's the human version of Grumpy Cat.
Now, was he in Hero? Hero is the movie I just saw. Have you seen that one?
Oh, yes, he was with Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott.
Yes, he
oh
is,
my
yeah.
God, what a beautiful film that was too.
Yeah, I have not seen it, but I know it's on my radar.
It's
so.
great, and that's the one where I started to appreciate him.
Mm-hmm. That played at the Chicago Film Critics Association Fest.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a new
and I
one.
missed it, but yeah, I am going to
Awesome.
catch it. Can't wait.
Anybody that's kind of in the business, you know, if you know the life of an actor or just being in the business, it just hits home. And very, very interesting story.
All right, we're into our threes. Len, who do you got sitting there?
All right, and I'm trying to think who I have left.
Are we just like picking your list off as we go?
No, but I'm on the fence on two people, and I guess I should just leave them for. I'll just give you number 3, Jackie Gleason.
That's huge. Huge.
Just the range, and like I never understood the allure so much of the Honeymooners, and then I started hanging out with comedians, and then you start hanging out with people who really know what comedy is, and I went and revisited. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is just a phenomenal actor. He's hilarious, and his physical comedy is on par with Jim Carrey. There's like scenes in the Honeymooners where he's on roller skates and just falling and you know, going from the slapstick to the pathos. And then the movies that I really liked him in, of course, was The Hustler, where he played
Oh, loved it.
you
Minnesota Fats.
Minnesota Fats. And then one of my favorite all-time movies is Requiem for a Heavyweight, and he plays a boxing trainer with Anthony Quinn and Mickey Rooney. So it's just like,
Oh, wow.
these guys, like you would never know that that's who they were.
Requiem for a Heavyweight?
Requiem for a Heavyweight. And
Throw
I
that on a
think
queue.
Rod Sterling wrote that, or he directed it. It
Throw
started-
that in the jaw box, will you?
I think it started out as a Playhouse 90 or something, and then they did this film. And it's just, talk about one of those movies where you just, oh my God, you feel sorry, and just like broken guys that are, you know, just trying to hang on and have their last hurrah. That's a great film.
Awesome.
And then he was also in, what was the name of that movie with Steve McQueen? No Time, or Soldier in the Rain, which he
I
played.
have not seen it.
I saw that movie maybe once or twice, and I've never gotten out of my head. And so he played, you know, again, all these are different parts.
What's the movie he did with Tom Hanks?
The Toy?
No.
No. That's with
That's
Richard
Pryor.
Pryor.
Oh, no. I know which one. He had diabetes, and they had to cut his
Yeah.
leg off.
Yeah.
Never Say Goodbye or something. Say Goodbye.
I don't know. It's a tearjerker. It's
Throw
a
it in the jaw
great,
box.
Great
That's a
movie.
great one. But two
Tom
other
Hanks, Jackie Gleason.
two other good movies was Gijo, which he wrote, and he played a deaf mute who falls in love with a prostitute in France in 1800s.
Oh,
I mean,
it's just yeah.
it's-
You've got me.
But it's just, he doesn't talk in the whole movie, and he carries his film, and he just draws you in, and unbelievable. And then what was the last movie before I forget? I don't know. I didn't write it down. But he's awesome.
He's a
he is
tremendous,
great.
amazing.
And
talent,
about
yeah.
the Honeymooners, there's a reason why there's still reruns on, 50, 60 years later. It's genius.
His
But, yeah.
range is unbelievable.
Nice pick at number 3. Matt, what do you got sitting there?
At number 3, I have one who is a lot more recent, I guess I would say, but could be approaching that same level. He's not there yet. Steve Carell. And here's a guy who was just a stand-up comic. Then he
Wait,
became.
was he a stand-up
Yes.
comic? I don't think
he's
so.
an improv guy from
I
Second
think so
City.
too.
I hate to
did some-
just, I don't know. Check it out.
Oh
Yeah.
man, are we gonna have to? Are
Controversy.
we gonna have to get a fact check on this one?
I don't think he did stand
I don't think he did stand-up either. I'm almost positive. I'd go almost a full-fledged 100% sure he didn't do stand-up.
Are you guys are calling me out on this one?
Yeah, I'm calling you out.
All right.
I
do I
mean,
need to
you
I need to
knocked
sub
up-
one in, or should I finish my thoughts
Go
on
ahead
Steve
and finish
Carell?
your thoughts on Steve Carell.
All right, Steve Carell. Let's just say, for the sake of argument,
Matt doesn't do his homework. This
no,
is
I
not,
did.
mean,
That's the thing. I was very specific. They had to be stand-ups. It doesn't matter. Steve Carell has shown a huge range. I mean, he's been a menacing villain. He's been just a jerk we hate. He's been a lovable guy, and he's been the funny guy. I think he's had a lot of emotional weight in his performances. And if this pick stands, if he's legal, I think
Legal.
he's one of the best.
I absolutely agree. As an actor, his range unbelievable. From what was the thing with the little girl that was going to do the
Little
Little
Miss
Miss
Sunshine.
Sunshine.
Little Miss Sunshine, he was great. And then there was one about the trading. Oh, the guy who played Batman. I'm such an
Christian
idiot.
Bale?
No, The
Christian-
Big Short. Yeah, The
With
Big
Christian
Short.
Bale
Yep.
and him.
Yep.
I thought he was great in that, and not always the same thing. I like the chances he takes as an actor.
Yeah, and the wrestling where he played the real life murderer. What was that one called, Ryan?
Foxcatcher.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another great one.
There you go. All right, we'll see if that pick stands as we get to the end of this
Fine.
list.
Fine. The rest I know for sure are legal.
All right, now I go to my 3 heavyweights. I went 2, as I said, up-and-comers. Here's my 3 heavyweights. At number 3, comedian extraordinaire, probably saw popularity bigger than most comics going, and we'll get Len's opinion on that, and then turned into one of the biggest movie stars at the time. I'm speaking of Eddie Murphy.
Can't argue.
I got an applause from Len. I saw it. Yeah.
I like
It was
Yeah.
a golf clap.
Yeah,
though.
it was, but it was an applause.
I didn't want to be rude, but
Yeah.
I will give you a wholehearty clap. And I think because I didn't think of him, he didn't even pop into my head.
Yeah, I mean, you got 2 awesome comedy specials. Now, these hit when I was a kid. So Eddie Murphy at the time when Raw came out, and
I have the LP.
You do?
On vinyl. Yes, I still do.
I mean, we literally looked at this guy. It's tough, I think, for younger people to realize how big Eddie Murphy was. We looked at him like he was a rock star. Like, it was huge. Like, we were a kid. He was the most popular guy, I thought, in the world.
He
you
was
know?
he was the guy who is probably as big as Steve Martin, where they went to the amphitheaters and he was selling those kinds of tickets and that kind of, but he had that impact. It was as big. And I don't think there's too many guys that have done that in the comedy world. Probably, you're right, probably him and Steve Martin are the only 2.
And then he takes that popularity and turns it into this just amazing movie career in the 80s and early 90s that has the 48 Hours, the Beverly Hills Cop movies, and even his role in Dreamgirls, which is his only Academy Award nominated role. He was nominated for that, was spectacular. And as of now, lately, not going as good for Eddie
I
Murphy.
like him as the donkey in Shrek.
He's great as the donkey in Shrek.
He's great as the donkey.
Yes.
But then
I'll
we
give
have
you that.
Daddy Daycare, you know?
This is true.
And there's a lot. He's had some missteps, but, you know, it's almost forgivable given his incredible back catalog.
And there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to bounce back. Everybody.
He's going to do a Michael Keaton,
I
right?
was just going to say, we were just talking about Michael Keaton. He had a lull in his career where it was like, what happened to Michael Keaton? And then, bam, here he is again. I think that's going to happen with Eddie Murphy as well. So,
I hope so.
yeah, that was my number 3. We're into our 2s. Len, what do you got?
I gotta get rid of one of these. Golly.
They're just juggling up the ladder, aren't they?
Well, these are the floaters, and most other people they were definitely on the list. I wouldn't be surprised if these guys are in your top list. But just because of the fact that they're kind of the same in what they do, I haven't put them up there for sure. I will have to say, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say Woody Allen.
This
Len.
could easily be Ryan's number
Oh,
one.
Len, let me return the favor.
Thank you. And I'm really on the fence because it's pretty much Woody Allen and everything he does.
Right.
But how prolific he is, the all-around auteur film, and really starting out in that real, on the edge of Borscht Belt kind of comics and his background. And, he was one of the writers on Your Show of Shows and just that the Hall of Fame or the Mount Rushmore of comedy and who he started and how he came up and the groundbreaking things that he did with Everything You Want to Know About Sex and his breaking the third wall and talking to the camera. So that as a filmmaker, he's genius. And then as, his films are very, Zelig to Broadway Danny Rose to Manhattan to all those other things are great. But again, he's just, almost a one-note thing.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I didn't get him on the list for sure.
Right. But it's the one note that is, people love that one note.
It's a sweet note.
It is because
Absolutely.
people will just imitate Woody Allen. I mean, if you've seen George Costanza, what's the actor's name from Seinfeld?
Yeah. You could just say George Costanza.
I'm drawing a blank
Jason
here.
Alexander.
Yes, Jason Alexander. I've seen interviews with him where he said, well, I went out to do George, and all I did was my best Woody Allen impersonation. I mean, it became a thing. Like, how do you act neurotic you act like Woody Allen.
I saw either it was an American Masters or something with Woody Allen, and he gives his credit. You know who he said he is on camera? Is Bob Hope. So if you ever see
Wow.
the old Bob Hope, so hold on, how you know, that
Yeah.
whole frantic, neurotic, and it was like, and I think they showed like clips, and I'm like, oh my God, it is. And he was just saying that he completely ripped off the
Wow.
frantic, neurotic guy.
That's funny.
And it's, you know, that and I've heard that with a couple other people that said, you know, Dean Martin said, I took my voice from, everybody said it was Bing Crosby, but it was really one of the Mills brothers. Again, nobody knows who the hell I'm talking about, including you guys. Dean Martin, the Rat Pack, you know that guy?
All right, let's get over to Matt's number 2. No, nice pick, Woody Allen. Matt, what do you got sitting at 2?
Okay, at number 2, someone who probably hung with the Rat Pack, maybe, I don't know, Steve Martin. We were just talking about him.
2, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
He
All
should
right.
be number 1, you think?
I think so.
Okay, is that a foreshadowing?
Yeah, maybe.
I think I have somebody better at number 1, but Steve Martin is not only one of the best comedic actors of all time. He's shown such, this was my criteria, he's shown such range where, like, and he's a good filmmaker too. He made Shop Girl, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think he directed it. He wrote it, though. He did write it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He plays the banjo. He's just a multi-talented guy. I mean, we fell in love with him for his comedy, and then I've fallen in love with him all over again for some of his more emotional stuff. He plays the straight man in It's Complicated, which is a odd turn for somebody with Steve Martin's talents, but he did it so well, playing just like a very down-to-earth, normal architect dude. I love him. I see him pop up, and I know it's going to be a good movie.
I'm in the same boat with the Woody Allen thing that, yes, he's got all that talent, even though Woody Allen's wheelhouse is film and Steve Martin is so varied. But if we're looking at your acting chops and acting only, he's good, but he's not as good as some of the other people. Do I love him? He changed my life. That's why I wanted to be in comedy, was because of him and Monty Python. So influential to me, yes. And he's kind of why I wasn't on there for the same guilt I would feel by putting Woody Allen on.
Have you seen Shop Girl?
I have not.
Have you seen It's Complicated?
I have not.
See those 2 movies. I think his acting chops may go up a couple notches in your
I'm
mind.
going to put those down. Shop Girl, and what was the other one?
Shop Girl he wrote, it's amazing, and the other one is It's Complicated. It's him, Alec Baldwin, and Meryl Streep. So if that doesn't sell you.
At the beginning of his career, I loved it because he did his first thing after The Jerk was Pennies from Heaven, which was just a complete turn. It was, you know, it was a serious. I don't know. Do you know which movie I'm
Yes,
talking about? He
yeah.
dances with all the different black and white films and interacts with them, which I thought was a brilliant turn. And I'm like, okay, this guy's going to be good, even as a punk kid when I watched it.
Yeah. Good pick at number 2. I think could have been a number 1. I think as we get to my number 2, I wonder if me and Matt didn't just sort of
Swip swap?
because my number 2, I know Matt is a big fan of this particular comic turned actor, and I think his range is quite incredible. He is an Oscar winner and one of the most creative stand-up comedians of all time. I'm speaking of Mr. Robin Williams.
We did.
We did?
We did, yeah.
So this is my number 2. We just basically flip-flopped. And Robin Williams, I mean, when you're looking at acting, that was everything from Mrs. Doubtfire, his Oscar-winning turn in Good Will Hunting, Good Morning Vietnam, Dead Poets Society. This guy was amazing, not to mention his
Awakenings.
Awakenings. And I know we're a film podcast, but Mork and Mindy, where he got his start as this.
Mork from Mork, yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Well, and his first movie, which was World According to Garp,
Oh, yeah, I've
was
seen it.
just completely, you didn't expect that at all. And that really, okay, this guy's an actor. You could see he's classically trained. And of course, the reason I think that a lot of these guys that you guys are saying weren't on my list, I tried to go with the guys that just popped into my head.
Sure.
I didn't want to go on the internet and I want to do it, but now that we're doing this, how did I not consider him?
Yeah.
But he's, he may probably have knocked off my number 1.
Yeah. That's how strong.
He's
that is
very,
how strong.
very strong.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, yeah.
the range is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and we were just talking about Nolan these past couple episodes, and he was in Insomnia, where he plays
Insomnia,
a
yep.
villain, and I thought he was great as with the
And
villainous
1 hour
turn.
photo. I don't know if you've
1
ever
hour
seen
photo
that
was
one.
the one I was thinking
Yeah,
that you
that's
were
it.
talking about.
Yep, same year. I mean, he sort of tried to explore new directions all the time, and seriously, of all these guys we just mentioned and gals, he had the most dramatic weight for me. Like when he did a sad role, it was so sad. You know, like I don't know what it was about him. He had a sincerity that just made whatever he did so believable. He was a great actor.
Yeah,
He was.
I agree.
So me and Matt have spoiled our ones, as you had Robin Williams and I had Steve Martin. We basically switch it up there. So we leave it with Len, your number one. What do you got?
And this guy, again, is solely because of his range. It's not because of the amount of work he has, because I'm only familiar with a couple, 3, 4 films. Jamie Foxx.
Honorable mention for me. Well done.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the difference between Django and the one where he's a cello player. Did you see that from Juilliard?
The soloist.
Right. Collateral, where he's with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise. And what was my other movie?
Ray, did you mention?
And Ray. You don't get a bigger range than that. And he's in that. Who's the actor first? He was on talk radio. He played the stapler guy. He's my slinger line stapler.
I know
In
who you're
Office.
talking about. I couldn't come up with his name.
He's the one I was wishing was a stand-up comic, because he's got the most. He was in No Country for Old Men, and all these.
Get out, really? Milton is in No Country
Milton
for...
is the killer attorney, or the attorney at the Texas.
Oh,
attorney.
yeah, he is.
And
He
he's
is him.
also, just his range is unbelievable, and he's probably my favorite actor, and that's why I would put him on par with Jamie Foxx, just in that scope and that range.
The range, sure.
And unbelievable. I don't see, Jamie Foxx in those roles. I see the roles.
Yeah. Wow. Honorable mention for me. Our number ones again, Matt, you had,
Robin Williams.
and I had Steve Martin. They have been mentioned. So let's do some honorable mentions really quick. Ones that we may have missed. I did have Jamie Foxx, as was mentioned. Steve Coogan. I'm a Steve Coogan guy.
That's weak.
Sarah Silverman.
Sure.
She's getting into some very dramatic roles with I Smile Back. And the one that I pushed off at the very end was Rodney Dangerfield.
Rodney Dangerfield. There's where my clap comes in. Well done. Yeah, he was my number 6. And I struggled not putting him on this list.
Same here.
The guy you can't not laugh at. He's one of those John Candy, John Cleese, Rodney Dangerfield. No matter what they're in, you're going to laugh.
And I think he didn't do a lot of varied work, but he did put in one performance in Natural Born Killers that showed
the dad.
he could have done some more stuff.
Absolutely.
Had he lasted longer. So a couple of honorables, and we'll leave Len with the honors. Hopefully I don't take them all. I would just mention Billy Connolly. I love him. He's done some great varied work. And another lady I'll mention is Kristen Wiig, who I think we're going to see more from. She's got hidden talents we haven't come to recognize
I
just
agree
yet.
100% with her.
What you
All
got?
right, I've got a couple. Louis C.K., just because
Yeah.
of the amount that he does through his series, and then watching him in, what was the, God, I'm terrible, the movie with
American Hustler?
American Hustle.
American Hustle.
Hustle, and just the Louis show.
Yeah.
And
He was also in Blue Jasmine, that Woody Allen film.
yes,
he was in.
yes. And to me, he's really good. And if you want to just take the amount of screen time that I've seen, if you stretch it over the Louis, he's just brilliant. And I think he's the guy that really takes his stand-up and converts it into acting, because it's his point of view, and you can see that. Another honorable mention, Don Rickles.
Nice. Good one.
Kelly's Heroes, not much better than that. CPO Sharkey, which was a TV show. And he's played Casino. He was a dramatic guy in there.
Yeah.
So he has a pretty good range. Another old school guy. And I said, and I would say my favorite performance by any comedian turned actor is Brad Garrett playing Jackie Gleason in that biopic.
I've not seen it.
Unbelievable. It's an HBO show, and it was just a biography, just his acting ability in that. And I'll tell you a quick story. I was in Vegas one time editing Chasing Robert, and I'm walking through whatever hotel we were staying at, and I saw him walking, and everybody's following him and stuff. And I'm like, I always said if I ever saw him, I had to tell him that I love that thing. And I left, and I went to get my car at the valet, and I just left it, and I ran after him, and I said, I don't know if you know who I am, because he may have even played my club at one point, but I go, you doing that Jackie Gleason was the single-handed greatest performance ever. He said, oh, my God. "You made my day, pal." That was it. And I just felt great that I was able to say it. But watch that turn. He becomes Jackie Gleason. He's not the guy in Everybody Loves Raymond, or his stand-up when he made his chops on Star Search and The Tonight Show.
Awesome.
But to me, that's the #1 performance of all time.
Wow. That's accolades right there.
Can we go to the judge really quick? I don't know if you had pulled up the fact already before we even go to the jaw box. Did Steve Carell do stand-up?
Steve Carell did not.
Nice. I knew Matt didn't do his homework.
I did. I got some bad info, I
He
guess.
was an actor and also in a comedy troupe at the Second City.
I knew it.
I knew that. I knew that.
All right. If we missed your favorite comedian, stand-up comedian.
Well, he's definitely a comedian,
Yes.
stand-up.
But stand-up comedian.
Can I say one more honorable mention?
I don't know. Len, I just don't know.
I didn't want to put him on there. He was in my film, and he's a friend of mine, so that's why I felt I would be cheating.
And he listens to this podcast every week.
I hope so, is Larry Miller.
Oh, yeah.
Who's been in all the Christopher Guest films. He played, his first big role was in Pretty Woman as the salesman, and from there he kind of plays the same thing. He was in Daddy Daycare, and he does a lot of if you saw him, you knew him.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course, from Pretty Woman. He's like, on Rodeo Drive.
Yeah. Oh, I'll suck him very good.
If we missed your favorite stand-up comedian turned actor, shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw or feedback at cinemajaw.com. We will retweet or reply to your email. Get the discussion going. That's what we like to do, Matt.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, when we come back, we have a CinemaWAR looking at badass beauties plus blonde movie trivia. We'll be right back on CinemaJaw.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get.
Hey, Rye. Yeah. I got a package in the mail today.
Ooh, tell me what it is.
It's the K&N air filter, dude.
There it is.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited to put this in my car. We're going to get better performance.
And not only that, look at this. I'm putting on a K&N air filter hat.
Oh, man, that is spiffy. You just look fantastic in that.
Hey, let's give one to Elias.
Oh, thank you, guys. I feel like I'm performing better now with this hat on.
Yeah, well, you could use some better performance. Hey, guys, if you want your own K&N air filter hat and a filter for your car, which is going to make everything better, go to knfilters.com/podcast. You can buy yourself a filter, and they throw in the hat for free. And we thank them for their support.
To get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And we are back on CinemaJaw, hanging out with Len Austrevich. You see how good I get this last name?
Perfect.
Wow, right. It's like
it
you're a new
rolls
person.
right off the tongue, right?
Yeah.
It's a new rye.
You could mispronounce anything.
Yeah. There were a couple
A three-letter name. You could mispronounce it. I swear to God.
There were a couple of questions I wanted to ask you, Len. One is we were talking about your time with the Comedy Store and different aspects of going through seeing stand-up comedy. And there's that new show on Showtime that I believe is produced by Jim Carrey entitled I'm Dying Up Here.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard a lot, and a lot of contemporaries. Rick Overton, who was in our movie, he's in that. He's a cast member. I don't even know anything about it, but I want to see it. I see the billboards, and it's getting a lot of acclaim.
So on that note, what is the craziest thing that you've seen in your time? If you can think of at least one, might not be the craziest, but something wild that happened at a comedy club.
And nothing with dogs in it.
Well, Bill Hicks was an old friend of ours, and he, I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah.
He became a cult-type comedian figure, and he cleared the room. I remember I booked him, and this was on a Tuesday night, and he called a woman in the room the C word, because she was heckling. They kept heckling, and they started, he's just like, would you just shut up? We just want to watch a show. He calls her the C word, and just started, get out of here, go, or whatever. And the audience was just leaving in droves. And my partners called me the next morning. We have an emergency meeting. I heard that he sent everybody out of the room. And I said, yeah. And he goes, we got to get rid of him. And I go, no, this is why we have to keep him. And I said, I guarantee you by the end of the week, it'll be sold out. So everybody was talking about this one performance. And if you see it on YouTube, it's a pretty famous YouTube thing from my club. where he does this. He sends the woman. And that was really to see that happen from the beginning to the end, of that week, to see that,
And did the show sell out at the end?
Absolutely. He became really, really, and he died of pancreatic cancer at 31 or 32. But he's the only guy that ever got cut out of the David Letterman show. They edited him out. I don't know if you know the story, but he went on. It was right in the first year that they were doing that, and he did some, by today's standards, very lean or lame humor, or not lame, but
tame.
Tame is the word I'm looking for. And they cut him out, and actually, like 5 or 10 years later, after he was dead, Letterman had his mom on to apologize and say, this was one of the big mistakes of my life, was to, because he was a big Letterman fan, and Hicks was on there all the time. But he was just an unbelievable performer. And just to watch that, and, so committed to what he's doing, there was no deviating. And then in terms of performance, Richard Jeni did a set, and he was on fire because he had all these specials. And Tom Dreesen, do you know who he is?
He was on. He's been a guest on the show.
Yeah. Okay, so Tom is an old school guy. Was the opening act for the Rat Pack, and the guy's just a veteran, just super nice guy. Took me to a Sinatra show at the Chicago Theater. Just the most engaging.
He's a really sweet person.
Nice guy. And actually, he was supposed to be in my movie. And then when Portnow, the guy from The Sopranos, I said, Tom, I got to use this other guy. So anyway,
poor Tom.
Poor Tom. But such a nice guy. Anyway, he came in and he's like, I got a Letterman spot. I need to work at my spot. And the show already had started. The headliner went up, and you never want to go after the headliner if you're just doing a guest spot. You always go that before, because the audience is usually keyed up. So anyway, he comes in, and I'm like, yeah, you probably don't want to do that. And the show's over. He goes, I don't care. I'll go up afterwards. And I'm like, okay. And so Richard Jeni comes off, and I go, we have a special guest star, and it's Tom Dreesen, and he's a local guy. And I'm just like, he starts his first joke, and it just tanks, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so painful. Because Jeni literally got like 2 standing ovations and brought him back to the stage. Anyway, he starts off, and I walk into the lobby going, oh, this is going to be terrible. And within 4 minutes, he had turned the entire room around to where you're going, that's a pro. That's an old pro that could do that. And that's probably the most amazing thing I've seen is someone to follow that. And you hear those stories like at the Comedy Store where you have to go up after, Kinison always talked about, he was the guy that had to go up after Richard Pryor and all those people. So you hear those stories, but I never saw it in real time action that close. So that was pretty amazing.
That is awesome.
Those are great stories.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of amazing, again, the website, if people want to get involved, jokesformiles.com.
Yep. Jokes, the number 4, Miles launching. There's a splash page up there. You can see what we do if you look at the little video there. But a very robust site being launched in September for Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month.
It's a great thing Len is doing. This is awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Before we get to trivia and before we get to CinemaWAR, we did throw a couple items into the jaw box. Elias, let's open up that jaw box.
What's your pleasure, Mr. Cotton?
The box.
We got a box! What's in the box?
How's it going, fellas? I am having anxiety because this is the first episode after 5 or almost 6 years I've been on the jaw that I am not behind the board. And so I'm like, my hands are like trying to twist dials and stuff. And, but it also might be because I'm getting older because actually this week I'm turning 33 and this is episode 333. What are the odds of that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's like we planned it.
Seriously. Yeah, like from the day I was born, you planned it, didn't you?
Yeah, before you were born. We've been thinking about this a long time.
Happy birthday, Elias. I think back to when Elias was turning 30, which if my math is correct, hold on, let me do this. This would be, if I'm right, that's 3 years ago, right?
Wow. So, you did that in your head.
So 3 years ago, we had a listener who started his own podcast now, Mark Herney. He would listen each week.
Yeah,
he was coming into town. It just so happened. He was like, hey, I want to meet up and buy this guy some beer. I listen to Cinemajaw all the time. We're like, well, we're actually going on a party bus for Elias's 30th birthday party, and we invited Mark Herney, and That was a night to remember.
Ooh, a
Yeah.
night I barely remember.
Yeah, so Jawheads, come to Chicago
Yeah.
and we'll bring you on a party bus.
That could be our thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. Also, got to note you're drinking 3 PBRs, or you had 3 PBRs. So
Whoa,
this
it's
is
like
episode
threes.
of threes. Yeah.
Everybody stop pointing your fingers at me. Jesus.
All right, let's jump into these questions. There's a lot. What TV show did Patton Oswalt act in? I think you were referring to the King of Queens.
King of Queens.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Who directed Man on the Moon? That was Milos Forman.
It was Milos, who also did One
One
Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yep.
Yep.
Amadeus, and a personal favorite, People versus Larry Flint.
Yes,
Wow.
that's a great film, too.
It is. I agree.
Who directed Requiem for a Heavyweight? That's Ralph Nelson. Rod Sterling wrote it.
All
I
right.
think you said, yeah. The Tom Hanks and Jackie Gleason movie, that is Nothing in Common.
There you go.
We couldn't think of it.
Great
Shot in
movie.
It is.
Chicago, too.
Yeah,
Yes.
directed by Gary Marshall.
Yep.
Wow.
Great
Didn't know that
film.
was Gary Marshall.
Yes.
Huh.
Matt already embarrassed himself when we found out Steve Carell was not a stand-up.
Didn't do my
Sorry, I
homework.
just want to linger with that. And I also searched YouTube just for some clips, like maybe he did it later, once after he was
Nothing.
famous. Nothing.
Didn't even play a stand-up as an improver or a stand-up as an actor.
And also just one more thing that wasn't exactly thrown in, but the stapler guy from Office Space is Stephen Root.
Stephen Root,
Yeah.
the greatest actor, in my opinion. My humble opinion.
I'm gonna have to. I mean, he's a very much a character actor, so you
But
probably don't recognize him. And
I've never seen anybody like that where you're going, that's him. When I was watching the No Country for Old Men, and then someone told me that was that guy, I'm like, no way. And I'm going through there, oh my God, there's that. And there was like 4 or 5 other things, I can't remember them, but he's the greatest actor, I think. Biggest range.
There you go.
Well, that was it for the questions.
How about some feedback,
We
Elias?
do have some feedback. It's kind of a two-parter here because I want to pause in the middle here. So this is from Danny Deck via Facebook. He said, "Hey guys, recently discovered the podcast and have been hooked. This fortuitous discovery has gotten me through long hours at a thankless job that is bookended by a brutal commute. Finally, you recently became the last thing I hear each day. Your podcast is a great way to end the day. The downside is that despite jumping to Jawhead about a month ago, I've worked through most of the episodes. Any idea where you could direct another KVCC, which is where Matt K went to college, alum, to older episodes? Any help would be appreciated." That is pretty amazing that he's already almost gotten through.
Yeah. Now, explain this really quick.
333 episodes.
I don't think he went through
No,
333.
there's
I think
75 on our feed.
that's what it is.
Oh,
so
right,
let's
yeah.
clarify this, because there may be people out there that want to hear even more Cinemajaw like Danny, right? So, okay, there's 75 on our feed.
That's 75-hour plus episodes.
But if there's diehard Jawhead fans out there that want to even hear more, where do they find it, Matt?
It's real simple, guys. Cinemajaw.com. You can listen to every episode going back to number 1, but please.
I told you delete one.
I know,
Delete it.
right?
Delete
No,
it.
it's there.
No,
it's there
delete
for
it.
posterity.
It's
if you ever
terrible.
want to listen to our very first episode,
Don't do
Get
it.
rid of that.
No.
Oh, it is.
It's like Dunkirk. I got to go listen to it now.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
So he continued, "I recently listened to a show in which you made a point of appreciating constructive criticism, so I decided to take a leap. My issue is with the CinemaWAR. I'd like to see much less of it. You guys have good natural chemistry and a limitless array of topics, so forced arguments seem needless. Change it or not, I'll keep drawing. I came across you guys listening to Stuff You Should Know. I immediately looked you up, and you guys have become my go-to. Again, you make a lousy workday go quicker. Thank you for that."
Well, first of all, you're welcome.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That is great
Thank
to
you,
get.
Danny.
We
Yeah.
love getting that kind of feedback. CinemaWAR?
I mean,
I see where he's coming from a little bit. Forced. We want to definitely take sides on CinemaWAR, like this week.
yeah, it's fun. I don't know. You know what? I will take it to heart, and we'll consider it, Danny.
Yeah. We discuss a lot of things behind the scenes.
Well, you
so
know
we
what?
will.
And he's in luck because last week we did not do a cinema
This
war.
is true.
So
we put an interview there
maybe
instead.
we should throw that out to the rest of the Jawheads. What do you think of the war? Should we keep it going?
Yeah. Throw us feedback at cinemajaw.com.
Let's give peace a chance, right?
All right. Is that everything, Elias?
That's all.
Get back in that jaw box.
Will do.
Sorry, Danny. Matt, it brings us to a segment called
CinemaWAR.
CinemaWAR works like this. Me and Matt, we're fighting on a topic. Len, he's playing judge and jury and telling the jawheads at home who he thinks won the CinemaWAR. And it's important because we get to get a little jaw time to rant and rave on whatever we want. You know what I mean?
Might even win the captain's chair here
No
in the
chance.
studio.
No, I'm not giving this thing up.
You were supposed to give me the sound box.
Ah, boy, Matt. All right, listen. Charlize Theron, beautiful, badass. Heck, Elias, tell the jawheads at home what today's CinemaWAR topic is.
Today's CinemaWAR topic, which badass beauty is tougher on screen? Charlize Theron or Angelina Jolie? Rye, you'll be fighting for Angelina. Matt, you'll be fighting for Charlize. Let this needless CinemaWAR begin.
I love it. Matt, you monster. I love me some Charlize. But who are you kidding here? Jolie is the quintessential badass beauty. She brought Lara Croft to the screen in 2 Tomb Raider films and went toe-to-toe with Brad Pitt in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And after she beat him up, she married him. How cool is that?
I don't know. Right, listen, badass beauty, Charlize Theron coined the term. Even her name is more badass. Charlize Theron. Sounds like a French karate move. Angelina is cute and all, with her little vial of Billy Bob blood, but even in a crappy movie like Hancock, Charlize is the more fierce and feminine of the two. She wails.
All right, Matt, let's be honest here. I think we can all be honest here. An eye patch is tough to pull off. Yet Jolie made it work in the movie Sky Captain and the World Tomorrow. She went on to play convincing Russian spy in the movie Salt, and someone who can bend bullets in the movie Wanted. Charlize is made up to look like she can kick ass. Jolie is a natural.
You know what's tougher than an eye patch? Having one freaking arm. There's a difference between a pretty face in an action movie and a true badass. Mrs. Smith, Salt, even Lara Croft are nothing next to one of the most badass female cinematic characters of all time, and that's Furiosa. She needed one arm alone to kick Max's ass, just like Def Leppard.
But here's the thing, Matt. From the get-go, Jolie had an edge about her. See 1995's Hackers. From that point on, she played believable badasses. Charlize, meanwhile, played fancy beauties early on in her career. You take away that Mad Max role, and you really don't have a strong argument here. Jolie, meanwhile, has kicked butt in several films.
I'll take away the Mad Max role. How many Oscars does Angelina Jolie have for playing real-life serial killers? For that matter, how many of those does anyone have? How many Oscars for anything does Angelina Jolie have? Charlize Theron had the balls to play ugly outside and inside a character in Monster. Angelina was too busy with her eye makeup.
And this is where Matt does not do his homework once again. How many Oscars does she have? The same number that Charlize Theron has.
Right.
1 Oscar for Girl Interrupted. Come on, Matt.
She got an Oscar for that
She
piece
did.
of crap.
Even in a Disney movie like Maleficent, Jolie kicks butt. She steals cars and Gone in 60 Seconds, and even when she lends her voice to an animated character, it's a kung fu fighting tiger in Kung Fu Panda. I finish with this. In 2015, Matt, Jolie was asked by a reporter on the red carpet if she would play a Bond girl. Her response, no, but I would play Bond. 2 words, Matt Kay. Badass.
All right. Wow. That was good. I still got one more point. Search your feelings. You know it to be true. Jolie is a hack. I'm sorry, but she just isn't that good. Charlize Theron is bound to break down more barriers and give us many more strong female characters for years to come. Good, evil, pretty, ugly. Theron has the range and the acting ability to be a true badass. Who do you think will still be standing in 20 years?
We are button heads here on
This is a
Cinema
tough
War.
one, wow.
As we do each and every week, we throw to our guest, our jury, our comedian this week. Len, what did you think of this Cinema War?
I have to say that I have to think and convince myself that Charlene is a bad ass, whereas it just comes naturally with our other friend here.
Did you see Mad Max Fury Road?
I did, but it's just like I have to think about it, whereas that, I buy it right away.
Yes.
So just in terms of that, now who do I think is a better actor? Charlene.
Charlize,
Yes.
But
yeah.
in terms of just, and I will say that knowing that was her in, if I were just basing it on Angelina Jolie and the commercial for the new movie, I would pick her, Charlene. For
Charlize Theron, yeah.
For what's the name of the movie?
Atomic Blonde.
Atomic Blonde. If I were just judging on that, I would say yes. But just overall, I don't even have to think about
Well, and I messed up the whole Oscar thing, so.
Now, wait, can I call you out on that? Are you sure that she won?
Throw it in a late jaw box. I believe she.
boy.
It was Hilary Swank who won, but
Throw it in the jaw box here.
Unless they both won.
You're thinking of,
Girl Interrupted.
yeah, not Hillary. She didn't win. Hillary Swank won for
$1 Million
Boys
Baby.
Don't Cry.
Oh, Boys Don't Cry, yeah.
You're right.
Girl Interrupted, Oscar, Angelina Jolie. I just want to make sure I'm right, but this is all flying off the top of my head here.
You still win the
CinemaWAR.
You definitely
I
win,
definitely
hands
win the
down.
CinemaWAR.
Yeah, she wins the Oscar for supporting actress.
There
in
you
Girl
go.
Interrupted.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They were
I
pretty
stand
light.
corrected.
They were pretty
Yeah.
light that year. I'm sorry.
Hey, that earns me 20 seconds of jaw time.
Go ahead,
I'm
Ryan.
rolling all of a sudden. Matt, all of a sudden I'm rolling.
Hey, good for you, pal. It's been like 10 weeks. You
I'm
earned
just
it.
going to gloat for 20 seconds here. No, I am going. There was a website that we've both used at a time, but Matt always drops
Whoa,
off.
whoa, we're not supposed to talk about that.
Matt dropped off, but it's a fun way to log all your movies and see what all your friends are watching and rating. It's called Letterboxd with a D at the end. And you can go on there, you can follow me, I can follow you, and you can see different opinions of films, of all the film reviewers. It's almost like a social media site for movie reviews. It's called Letterboxd. I'm Rod the Movie Guy on there. I'll follow along. It's a fun site. You were on there briefly, and then you just gave up on it.
Yeah, I kind of did. But you're keeping it up to date?
Always. I log every movie. It's the only way I can keep track of every movie I see. Matt only sees a handful of films.
Yeah, well, and you're a meticulous guy, so
Yes.
maybe I'll get back on there.
It's fun. It's a good website. So that's my 20 seconds.
Oh, well
Can I
used.
ask a question?
Sure.
What is your favorite movie?
Oh, of all time?
Yes.
I hate being put on the spot
Oh,
like
I hate
that.
when people
I know.
say that. You know, you have a favorite one. He said it was
This
Memento.
is funny because when I first met you, you interviewed me for a position on Bad Penny Films,
That's
and
correct.
you asked me that question. Do you remember what my answer was
Ah,
back then?
Jesus.
Oh, jeez, man.
What do you
Way to
think
reverse
he's-
it, right?
Yeah, but what do you think he's
Full
really going to
Metal
remember
Jacket?
yours?
Huh?
Full Metal Jacket?
No, it was at the time. It changes, right? But at the time, it was Alex Cox's Repo Man.
Oh, yes. I remember saying that because I love that movie. And nobody knows it. Emilio Estevez movie from, what is it, 80 or 79?
No,
81?
it's somewhere in there, the 80s for sure.
And the Circle Jerks did the soundtrack?
Yeah, yeah.
5 Pound. I remember that. That's weird.
So, Rye, what's your today? What's today's answer?
It's always difficult to say, but I've been really big. I always have been big on Mulholland Drive, which is a David Lynch film. I don't know why this film came around after I revisited, but Her, I love Her. So, sort of modern times. I don't know. It changes.
What's your current one? Is it Memento or Memento?
Oh, of all time?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I had a brief stint with Braveheart. It's almost like Who You Dating Today. Honestly, I haven't given it a lot of thought lately, like my favorite film of all time. What about you? Give me a second to think.
Godfather always comes back to Godfather, but everybody says that. But that's my favorite film. And then sometimes I will, for a couple seconds, I will think of Miller's Crossing, which is a Coen Brothers movie.
I thought you were going to say Sandy Waxler, the new Adam Sandler film. No?
I was going to say that. But
You read his mind.
how about you?
I would say City of God, Brazilian
film.
Love
Love
that
that.
film. By the way, Repo Man is 33 years old. It came out in 1984.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
Whoa.
This is getting
I was going to
wacky
try to
with the
come up with
31st.
another one, but I'm just going to go Repo Man.
All right. Nice
Perfect.
How about our engineer?
Engineer Phil, way back there.
Producer Phil.
Actually, my favorite film, this isn't going to come as a surprise to any of the guys, but it's Spirited Away by Hayao Miyazaki.
Nice.
It's a big animation film.
I know it, but I haven't seen it.
Wow.
it's a good one.
A lot of great ones.
It's amazing.
I've got my list is here.
All right, enough, Phil. Enough. All right. No, I'm kidding. But it's funny hearing Phil's voice when he's in another room.
I know,
Right?
it is
It's all of a
weird.
sudden in our headphones. It's strange. All right. To trivia. We guys ready?
I'm ready.
Blonde movie trivia.
All right.
Think of famous blondes, and this is in honor of Atomic Blonde. Len, you're our guest. You get to choose if you want to go first or let Matt go first. There are steals, and if you get hung up on a question, you get one trip to the ER for Elias Rodriguez. Now, they start off easy, Len. hint.
All right, I'll go for it.
All right. Question number 1 over to Len. Reese Witherspoon starred in this 2001 comedy in which she attempts to get a law degree to win her boyfriend back.
Legally Blonde.
1-0, Len. Question 2 over to Matt K. Matt, this blonde comedian starred in 2015's Trainwreck.
Amy Schumer.
1-1. Question 3 bounces back over to Len. This actress went blonde to play Gwen Stacy in The Amazing Spider-Man.
I can see her.
You know I know it.
I can see her, but I don't know the name. Now, am I able to go for a lifeline or whatever that is?
But you only have one.
But you only have one.
No, I'm going to... I'm out.
All right. Matt?
Emma Stone.
Yep. Go.
2-1, Matt
I know
K.
my Spider-Man, if it's a Spider-Man
I
question.
could see her, but I couldn't name her.
All right. Question 4 over to Matt K. Matt, name the 1953 comedy musical that starred Marilyn Monroe, Jane Russell, and James Corbin. It was based on a 1949 Broadway musical.
Jesus.
1953 comedy that starred Marilyn Monroe, Jane Russell, and James Corbin.
I mean, there's only like 2 or 3 Marilyn Monroe movies that I could even name. I don't think this one's a musical, but I'm just going to say 7-Year Itch.
We are playing blonde movie trivia. Name the 1953 comedy musical, Len, that starred Marilyn Monroe, Jane Russell, and James Corbin.
Gentlemen prefer blondes.
Well done. Ties it back up here at 2-2.
See, I thought Marilyn Monroe was the blonde in the...
No.
Okay, right.
See how I use it? I change it up. Blonde movie trivia. It's 2-2, and question 5 is over to Len. I love it. We got a ball game here. This famous blonde actress starred in Kate and Leopold, City of Angels, and Courage Under Fire. You do have a trip to the ER if you need it. 8 questions. This is question 5.
I'm going to just take it wrong. I don't think he's got it.
Wow. 2-2. It's just
See,
incorrect.
We never played poker together, but we should. We should.
I'm down.
Kate and Leopold, City of Angels, Courage Under Fire. She has blonde hair. Name her.
First of all, it's really tough to name actresses who don't have blonde hair.
By the way, that's the answer. Those are all my clues. She has blonde hair. That's all. So.
Kate and Leopold is the big clue. I know that was Hugh. Was that Hugh Jackman? I want to say played opposite her. I cannot come up with the girl. I can't.
Can I give a guess?
Well, let me get it wrong first, and then you can take a guess. I'll say
Whoopi Goldberg?
Yeah. No?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, what's your guess? I can't think of it.
Kate Blanchard?
No, we were looking for Meg Ryan.
Wow.
Oh.
Meg
I was
Ryan.
right about Hugh Jackman, though, right?
Yes, you were. Yeah. Now it's still 2-2, and question 6 is over to Matt K. Matt, there always seems to be a blonde actress in distress in the King Kong films. Which actress played Anne Darrow, the blonde actress in Peter Jackson's 2005 King Kong film?
Naomi Watts. I'm a big fan of Peter Jackson.
If it were the King Kong with the Big Lebowski, I would know.
Yes.
Jessica Lange.
Was it Jessica Lange? Yeah.
All right, it is 3-2. Question 7, back over to Len. Len, tie it up here. In 2004, Kim Basinger starred in the film The Door in the Floor, in which her husband have a falling out after their 2 sons die. Which actor played her husband in the film?
I got to go to the ER.
Whoa! Trip to the ER. Question number 7. Elias Rodriguez. What actor starred with the blonde Kim Basinger in 2004's The Door in the Floor?
dude, I got nothing.
I think that
Dude,
first
I got
word might
nothing.
be a clue.
All right, so I know it could be two choices.
Probably
I
really
would
only
say-
one.
My mind is going to Dude, Where's My Car guy, but it's not that. It's got to be the Big Lebowski. What the hell is his name?
I would
Jesus.
almost give it to you.
I can't believe I don't. That's my favorite. One of my favorite.
Yeah, he's trying to bridge the clue to the answer. Bridge.
Oh, that's right. The Bridge of Madison. No, Bridges. Jeff Bridges.
There we go. Yes.
That was just a brain fart, man. You had it.
I can't believe I didn't know it. I feel like an idiot.
No,
3
you know
to
it was
3.
the dude.
No, many people haven't seen the door on the floor. It is 3-3. It's all tied up, and it's the last question of the game. Over to Matt K. Matt, you can win it here.
Uh-huh.
Or if you miss, you give a chance for Len to win it on a walk-off. Here we go. Matt, name the blonde actress who starred in Mighty Aphrodite, Mimic, and The Replacement Killers.
Okay. Mimic is the one that's really throwing me off.
Mighty Aphrodite.
That's a Woody Allen film, isn't it?
It is. Mimic.
Yeah,
Not
which was
a Woody Allen
no,
film.
that's
No.
a horror movie with
No.
bugs, and there's a lady who's a bug.
The Replacement Killers.
I almost think that's. You know what? I'll go to the ER.
Whoa!
That's the last
Back-to-back
question.
trips to the ER. Elias Rodriguez. Who starred in those 3 films?
We're throwing out another movie here. Your clue is also in Romy and Michelle's high school reunion.
Wow. Dude, I'm sorry. I totally know this one. I wanted to kind of keep it exciting. It's Mira Sorvino. Did you know
had
it?
it written down, Mira Sorvino. I was even going, okay, her dad was in Goodfellas. I had all the answers and all the things I was going to follow up with.
She was in Mighty Aphrodite?
Yeah.
I love Romy and Michelle. Can I just say, I think that is one of my favorite movies, and it's very underappreciated.
That's my first writing partner's film.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yep, and he, Dave Merkin, who was a producer and writer on The Simpsons for years.
Wow.
Was the head writer on that.
Yeah. And
Great
you say,
movie.
was she in Mighty Aphrodite? She actually won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for that role.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Shows you what I know.
That was huge. So,
Did
wow.
I know she was blonde in that, though?
Yeah, I don't know if she was blonde in all 3 films, but she's a blonde actress, so that's where I was going with
I
that.
don't
would
think
say she's a brunette.
I also would agree with Len on this. I don't think she's a blonde.
That's why I was like,
Throw it the
Wait a
jump.
second.
She's blonde in Romy and Michelle. We can agree on that.
So are you?
I
and
know she's
Matt-
blonde in Mighty Aphrodite.
you can't. Is she? Get
That's
a
what-
picture.
I always assumed she was a blonde.
Ah, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
People change their hair color all the time. I had green hair
I don't know
once.
how we
I
would
always
look this
assumed
up.
Patrick Stewart had a full head of hair, but that doesn't. You wouldn't put him in
I-
guys with bushy hair things.
So I'm looking at Google Images, and none
Are
only
blonde.
one of the pictures is a brunette, and the top image search.
Oh,
is
so
here.
she's blonde in all of
Blonde,
them.
yeah.
All right.
Stand correct. No, don't challenge
But she's,
you.
you know what?
Yeah,
she's
I know.
not. She's not famous
do
necessarily
my
for being a
homework.
blonde.
Yeah. What? Well, that's why I threw it as the question number 8.
Oh, all right. Okay.
All right. Matt wins this one 4-3. But if it came down to a tie, we call it a jawbreaker.
Wait. Handshakes.
Yep. Handshake.
Good job, sir. Thank
Yeah,
you.
back at you.
All right. If it came down to a tie, we call it a jawbreaker. This question would have been over to Len. Better actress, Reese Witherspoon or Emma Stone?
Emma Stone.
I'd give that to her.
That's correct.
Yeah, that is pretty good. Real jawbreaker was this, though. Age of Marilyn Monroe when she died. Closest to. Matt, you go first.
I think it was August 5th, 1962, right? Did she die in the 60s?
But I'm asking for her age.
Yeah,
Her
yeah.
age.
Her age. I'm just trying to do the math. If she died in the 60s, she was young. She couldn't have been over 40. I would say she might be in the 37 club. 37.
Elias, lock him in at 37. Len, you got a guess?
36.
Wow. Give that one to Len. 36 years old.
Wow. I was close.
You were. You almost nailed it there.
Was that a Price is Right thing? You were just going under me?
I knew
You
it was
knew?
You knew?
36.
Yeah.
Because when you said 40s, I'm like, good, he's going to say 40. And then I knew I had it.
Yeah.
But when you said 37, then I was like, wait, is it 36? But that was going to be my guess no matter what.
Yeah, it's funny because usually I do, obviously somebody living, people listen to this. This is the first time I ever did one. But in my head, I thought, all right, go with a very famous blonde at their age. And I couldn't get Marilyn Monroe out of my head when you're thinking famous blondes, like iconic famous blondes.
Absolutely.
She's it. So I'm like, well, let's just go with what age she was when she died. I had no clue, so that's why I put it down for a question.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, boy, oh boy. Brings us to the end of a great Jaw. And yeah, you can probably hear the rain. It's coming down here. I don't know if they can pick up on this in the new studio, but perhaps we can hear it in our headphones.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Maybe we need to put some soundproofing on the ceiling.
We're going to have to hang out here with Len until this passes over.
It sounds like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Len,
seriously.
first and foremost, we got to thank you finally for coming on Cinemajaw. This has been a blast. And
Right back at you. This was so much fun, and I'm sorry I haven't done this all the many times that we brought it up.
You know what? It's good, man, because we just wanted to wait till it was in the studio, so it's perfect.
Awesome. What a great show.
yeah,
But
thank you.
we can't wait another 8 years for you to come back. You
I
gotta
will
come back
not,
sooner.
man. You're going to have to be telling me, no more. No coming back here.
He's going to be every other week.
He's the new co-host.
Yeah. We also got to thank all our sponsors.
Yeah, thanks to all the sponsors and the Chicago Podcast Co-op who help us get those sponsors.
Yeah, we also got to thank a couple of special individuals here. We got behind the booth, behind the glass over there. Look at this
in
guy.
the fish tank.
Yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. Editor, producer. What are we
Producer.
calling him now?
Producer Phil, double
Producer
P.
Phil?
Yeah.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, not a problem, guys. Please don't start calling me PP.
I was thinking
Double
it.
P.
double P works cool. It's like a secret agent name. I'm double P. But yeah, thank you guys. And as always, if you want to, feel free and please check out my webcomic 20-something angst at 20-somethingangst.tumblr.com. That would be great.
We also got to thank the best engineer in the biz, Elias Rodriguez.
Or, yeah, we're going to have to figure out something new for that.
I know.
But thank you.
Still got to go
just
with
from
it.
the Dropbox.
It just sounds like it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out.
yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome. Until next week, I'm Ryan the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt Kay, and keep on jawing about the movies.